I've had 50
Wow.
different people sitting next to me over the last 6 months.
That's a lot of dating.
Just living in the moment with these people, many of whom I'm meeting for the first time, which is crazy. I mean, and it is a lot. It's a lot for our producers. It's a lot for me. It's a lot easier to sit next to somebody you know and love and do a show with them and know they have your back. It's been a major growth moment for our show, but for me personally, professionally, I think it allows for a level of spontaneity and openness that is a real challenge to do on national television.
Week in and week out.
Yeah, but I'm up for it.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to How She Does It, where we sit down with women who are blazing their own paths to the top, and we find out how they do it. In these conversations, we touch on the intersection of women, money, and power. I'm Karen Feinerman, and thanks for taking the time to hit play on this episode. You may have seen me on Fast Money on CNBC. I'm a long-term Wall Street investor, a mom of 4, and a huge WNBA fan. I've been looking forward to today's conversation for some time. I've been so impressed with the career Jenna Bush Hager has built for herself in media and publishing. And it's even more remarkable when you realize it's not the line of work she initially envisioned for herself. She spent several years as a teacher before diving into television. These days, most people know Jenna as the host of the 4th hour of Today. On our screen, she's funny, enthusiastic, and not afraid to be vulnerable. But her magic touch is not limited to her time in front of the camera. She's a New York Times best-selling author of several books, including the deeply moving Everything Beautiful in Its Time, in which Jenna penned essays about both sets of her grandparents, including President George H.W. Bush and First Lady Barbara Bush. She's also written multiple books with her twin sister Barbara. Her love of literature was the impetus behind today's launch of Read with Jenna, which is one of the most influential book clubs in the country. Since kicking it off in 2019, she's recommended nearly 80 books, sending many of them to the bestseller list. As if that wasn't enough, she's recently launched a production company, 1,000 Voices, which includes her own publishing imprint with Random House Publishing Group. Spending time with Jenna was such a joy. We touched on what it's like hosting Today without Hoda Kotb by her side, how her family supports her, plus how a playdate for her son Hal led to one of her most exciting projects yet. This was a fun one. Hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I am really delighted to see you in person. The Today Show was never the goal for you. You were a teacher in Baltimore. How did you end up on NBC?
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't. It's so interesting that it wasn't like I never saw myself in the field really at all. I was the editor of my high school paper in Austin. I was an English major. I loved to write. And I was teaching. At one point, I moved to Latin America. I worked for UNICEF. And while I was there, I wrote a book about one of the young women that I was working with, narrative nonfiction, because I was a teacher and I realized my kids here could use these stories. And so I was on the Today Show for that book. And then I also wrote a children's book with my mom. And so then 3 months later, I was on again. And in that instance, she was First Lady and she was hosting the show, the 8 o'clock hour. It was like this big thing, and I was kind of her sidekick. And
so it was the two of you. She was the host, you were the co-host.
I was the sidekick.
Okay.
Really, just the sidekick, because she was hosting with Meredith Vieira, and I was just like doing the cooking segment and whatever it was. And at the time, our executive producer came up afterwards to somebody that worked for my mom and was like, Jenna should do this. And actually, at the same time, ABC was calling because they saw me on TV, and I was like, no way. And so I said no, and I
wait, what was unappealing about it?
Well, it just wasn't my vision for myself. I think I was also I had this really big, and I still do, passion for education, and I had just received an offer for a dream job to work at the Seed School of Maryland, and so I wanted to take that. I was getting married, like we were moving to Baltimore. It just was not part of the plan at all. And frankly, for years, I sort of hid from the media. So then therefore to go into it just did not feel like a natural progression at all. But teaching, particularly in the most marginalized areas in our country, is very difficult. And I taught at a public boarding school for kids that are at risk or disadvantaged. And it was hard. We went through 3 principals in a year. And so finally I was like, well, maybe I should take this interview. And I actually think that's the best advice is you always take the interview.
For
you know,
sure,
you
right?
always go
There's
see
no
what
downside.
they're offering.
Yeah.
And what they were offering was sort of a different way of teaching. And at that time, it was sort of the golden age of television. I got to go to Africa multiple times. I went to Haiti after the earthquake. I went to, all over the world. And so I'm so glad I did take the interview. It was 17 years in September.
So you're there, you're having a very successful run with Hoda, and she tells you, I'm leaving. So now it's Jenna and Friends. And how has your leadership changed? What's your plan for the show?
Yeah, well, it's been an amazing opportunity, really. Like, and in the same sort of way that I didn't envision myself working at the Today Show, I never envisioned Hoda leaving. And in fact, she kept saying, "Don't sign your contract. Don't sign your contract." And I thought she was saying that so we could kind of link up our contracts, and so we could be there really until the same time. But what she was doing was protecting me because she knew I was going to be doing the show on my own, which is a different story than when you're sitting next to a partner you've had for 6 years. You know, that's a different thing. But I didn't ever even have one inkling of a thought that she was about to say, I'm leaving. It's nothing we discussed. I know she loved her work and loves her work. And so leaving it felt like I just couldn't have wrapped my mind around that till I really sat down with her and heard her reasoning. So it was not something I chose. It was a shock and it was a disappointment at the time. But I think 2 things. We really sat in the goodbye of it. She had 3 months from the time she told me she was leaving till the time she actually left. And so by the time January hit and she was gone, we'd kind of mourned what was, and we had really leaned into what this new chapter was going to look like. We talked about it a lot. We met about it a lot. I feel like we're in a really good spot for that to happen. So we feel really good about it. My leadership style has not changed.
How would you describe it?
I would say I probably lead with humor. And I think one of the things that's been this great blessing that sort of was uncovered, we were always a really tight team. From the moment, even when I was filling in for Hoda. The Today Show is a family. They don't say that in the way that a mafia would say it. It's sort of wink, wink, It's a really wonderful place to work. And I know that legacy of it. I've been there a long time. I've worked with many of these people for almost 20 years, So and I grew up with them in many ways, had children there, all the things. So the atmosphere was really beautiful and family-like. But I think I hopefully lead with appreciation and gratitude. I'm constantly telling people thank you for the work that they do because many of the times the producers are what make the show hum at all. I also have vulnerability. People know that watch our show. I'm very honest about my feelings. And right now, the way I feel is wildly grateful for this team of people that have supported me through this. We went out for a little happy hour and I kind of cried in a toast. But it's because, and I've done that multiple times, but I'm not scared to tell people how I feel. I never have been. But I also want people to know that the hard work they put in does not go unnoticed. And so no, my style hasn't changed. I think our team has become closer because when you go through the loss of something and the development of something new, you depend on each other, you know? And so that's been a really fun, beautiful chapter that I never would have asked for.
Okay, so now it's Jenna and Friends. You're dating.
Yeah, we're dating and we're continuing to. And I think, we will eventually have a permanent host, I think, but we don't know. And I'm type A in a weird way. I'm not a perfectionist at all, but I also like planning. I like plans. I like to sort of know how things are going to go. For my personality, this has been a challenge, and it's kind of a great way just to live in the present. We do not have a plan, and that does not scare me. We actually don't need one, which thank God, because if it had gone terribly awry, then we would have been what are we doing? It's what we're doing now is just, it's great.
So it's a different energy though, to have a different host every week with you.
I'm tired. I've had 50 different people sitting next to me over the last 6 months.
That's a lot of dating.
Yeah. It's a lot. I couldn't believe it.
What are you looking for?
This is the thing. It's I'm not looking for anything, I'm just living in the moment with these people many of whom I'm meeting for the first time, which is crazy. I mean, and it is a lot. It's a lot for our producers. It's a lot for me. It's a lot easier to sit next to somebody you know and love and do a show with them and know they have your back and all the things.
The shorthand and the
this is it's been a major growth moment for our show, but for me personally, professionally, I mean, I'm sort of can't believe I can do it, and I have done it, and I'll continue to do it. I can't believe our team has done it and done it so well. It's a big feat, but it's fun, and I think it allows for a level of spontaneity and openness that is a real challenge to do on national television.
Week in and week out.
Yeah, but I'm up for it. And who knows how long it will go. We really, again, are just living in the moment of it now.
So, all right, I know one of your co-hosts was your husband.
Yes.
Henry Hager.
Yes.
He, it seems like, is much more private than you. How do you guys sort of balance that with you being in this very public, very big life?
I mean, I think, again, we've been together for 20 years. So we balanced that sort of dynamic for a long time. I mean, when he married me, I was the president's daughter. So nothing's a real surprise, which I think is important. And I also respect him immensely. So if he says hey, that might be one step too far, or whatever it is. And I think also we're so aligned on our thoughts about how we want to protect our children. So it's not like I'm hey, let's not put that or post that or whatever it is. And I think I've started and learned lessons, not to talk about my kids in a way that might embarrass them later, and I try to really ask myself, and I've done this in writing too, but whose story is this to tell? Is this my story as a mother to talk about a child, and if it is, okay, but is this something that Mila might think? She's 12 now, she's going into seventh grade. I'm not into that. So we figured that balance out. But more importantly, and it's a constant conversation, I'm so lucky because I have a husband who's so supportive of my work that he would do something like go on television to sit next to me, even though was not
his least favorite thing to do.
And he killed it too. And I think that's a real example of somebody that's showing up for somebody they love, really just for me, to show his dedication to me. And yet, because he was vulnerable about it, he did a great job.
All right. Well, you've done a lot of crazy things on the show. I mean, you had your hair cut live.
Just recently.
Quite recently.
Yes.
It looks good. Are you
Thank
happy
you.
with it?
I am, yes.
Okay, good. You've jumped out of a plane live, for which you won an Emmy. You had a bucket of cold water spilled on your head. Is there anything that you have said, no, I'm not going to do that?
I mean, there's a million things I've said no to. You just haven't seen them, and I haven't done them, so therefore I've forgotten them. It's at age 40.
No top one comes to mind of...
No, something I've said no to. I mean, there's a lot I say no to. I'm sort of in my dating era and my era of protecting myself, because I feel like time is super precious. I've had to put a lot of unexpected time towards work. I didn't know Hoda was leaving, and I'm also starting all this other stuff. So it's unless something really fills me up, there was a shoot this week that I was do we really need this? And they were like, no, we don't. I don't hesitate to say no. And I think it's actually a really important word for women to use.
Yes.
I don't want to say yes to things that aren't appealing to me.
All right. I want to switch gears to something that I find so interesting. So this country feels really divided. And personally, I always try to look for something positive. And the one thing that I love is the unlikely but seemingly very real relationship between your father and Michelle Obama, who I know you're very fond of. What do you think it is that people love about that?
Well, I think for exactly what you just said, in a country that is extremely polarized, and by the way, it's not so unlikely if we look at history, even recent history, where politicians of different parties would get along really well. But in this polarized moment in our country's history, it feels refreshing and foreign because we just haven't felt something like that. I mean, meanwhile, Bill Clinton and my grandfather were best friends. And if you look at times before then, many politicians from different, sides of the aisle or whatever you would say have had friendships. It's just in this climate, it feels unusual and it feels refreshing. It feels like a callback to kinder times, gentler times, which I think people are longing for.
Would you consider Michelle Obama as a co-host?
Yes, of course we would. I mean, we would love to. I think we probably already asked her, but we would love it. Maybe she will in the fall. Who knows? She has her own podcast. She seems to be killing it.
Yep.
So I don't know that she has the time, but of course I would.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick break. You have a production company and a publishing imprint under your Thousand Voices banner. So tell me, what are you cooking up for everyone?
Well, the imprint is super exciting. It's new, and it's in partnership with Random House Publishing Group. I'm obsessed with it because we started a book club at the Today Show 6 years ago now. And
Read with Jenna.
Read with Jenna.
Yes.
So for 6 years, I've been working in publishing and as a founder of a national book club. So I've gotten to work with agents and publishers, with writers. I heard so much about what readers want. And so when this idea came to us, it felt like a real natural progression on something I'm obsessed with. And I really am truly obsessed with it. So we're looking for emerging voices, a wide variety of storytelling. And it's been so much fun. We right now have 8 books that we're publishing. The first one in October of 25, all the way through fall of 27. So it's a lot of work. I see myself as a spotlight for newer writers. So I'm going to book festivals with some of these writers. We're planning events. We're doing publicity with them and all the things that we kind of have learned best practices via the book club and now putting to work with our publishing imprint. So it's super exciting. One of my favorite things in the world is sort of sharing writers that I love, sharing, a platform with them, having writers have a whole new audience because I've recommended their work. It's a ton of work. And I don't even really register it because I'm so passionate about it. I'm so obsessed with it that it's just so much fun.
So your first book coming out is called Conform.
It's called Conform. I mean, the story is wild because mainly, it's agents or it's sort of the traditional way. But because I've talked books for 6 years on national television and have a platform, people will stop me on the street and hand me books. And this one came wildly through my child. My husband had just had shoulder surgery. A little boy in my son's class, mom, I'd never met her, but I wanted to get out of the house. So I wanted to invite a play date for him. My daughters were gone. It was like a Saturday afternoon. I had a babysitter. It helps with mom guilt to have a little kid come play with your son so I could go get like exercise. I'm a caregiver for my husband, and I never had been. I probably wasn't very good. And I'm taking care of 3 kids. I need 1 hour of exercise. So I invited this little boy over, and his mom arrived, and she was like, George is actually having separation anxiety. And I'm like lacing my shoes on the way out. Like I just am like, I really needed like a walk, And she's like, do you care if I stay? And I was like, oh, slowly unlacing. I'm like, of course you can, because I can't say no, So I sit down with her for a little bit. I ended up going for the walk, don't worry. But I felt rude just like walking right out of the door. So I sat down and we started talking, and she was a stay-at-home mom who was talking to me about this world she'd created. It's a 9-book plan. She'd already written the first one, which is the book that we are publishing in October called Conform. But compared to other people who are sort of pitching a book, that wasn't what she was doing. Like I just was asking her questions about herself. And she said, I'm writing, but it's more like I'm creating this universe of books, and here's my idea for publishing them, and here's my first book and the second book. And I just thought like, wow, what a dynamic and thoughtful plan, and so prolific. At that point, she'd written the first 2. And so I said to her, and I wouldn't say this if I didn't mean it, like, send it to me. I'll take a look at it. At that moment, we weren't.
That's a risky thing to do. Because then your kid can't have play dates with them anymore if it doesn't work out.
I think it's okay to say this isn't for me. And I've learned that. After how long I've been in this business, there's plenty of things I just say, I can't do it, or this isn't for me, or let me send it to somebody that might be able to help. Like, I'm not scared to say no.
Good. That's great advice.
I'm too old, and I've worked too hard to say yes to things I'm not obsessed with. It's just too much. But I'm like, I just love to read it, She was not pushing it in any way. And I'd never met her. So then I put on my shoes and I walked out of the house. And then we had the idea to start this imprint with the focus around emerging talent. She's a debut writer. I also, because I've worked in publishing for so long, in her voice, I was like, there is something here. Like, there is something here. One of my colleagues in LA with our production company loves romantasy and distomance and all of that. She read it in like 24 hours and she called me and she was like, I don't know if we can cuss on this podcast, but like, holy shit, this is the best thing I've ever read in this category. It's incredible. And then all of the UTA assistants read it and they were going wild. And so it was an obvious choice. And I'm so thrilled. I mean, now she's written 3 books. So this is publishing in October. The next book comes out 6 months later. And then the following book 6 months after that. So it's wild and nothing else has ever come like in the form of a children's play date, but I'm also like, it was the best play date that I didn't want to be at ever, you know, that brought us together. And I really respect her as a writer. She's unbelievably prolific, and all of us, like her editors, like I've never seen revisions like this and all the things. So it's super exciting. Name? Her name's Ariel Sullivan, and she would come drop George off at my house when I was at work, and she'd just say to like our nanny, is it okay if I sit in the driveway and continue writing, because I can get more done than if I drive home and then come back and pick him up. So it's really such a pleasure to get to work with her.
All right, so you have so much reading to do. How do you get that done?
I mean, I just get it done. It's like the way that all of us get things done, we don't necessarily want to do. I'm obsessed with this app called Speechify. It sort of changed everything to me, because until maybe 6 months ago, everything I read had to be printed or on my Kindle, because I read about a year to now 2.5, 3 years in advance. And so nothing's been published, nothing can be listened to. And Speechify allows me to listen to books. You can put PDFs into this app and you can basically speed it up. And I read it at the same time. So I can read a book in like 3 hours now with this app. But I read in a million different ways, in all the different places. I always have a book on me. You know, when we're done in the hair and makeup chair, and when I'm done going over my notes, I'm reading. I'm reading on my commutes. I'm reading on the treadmill. Especially now with the imprint, my reading has had to go up. I was reading for the book club and the production company, and now with the imprint, it's a lot.
That is a lot.
But it's great, and it hasn't, like, I find it to still be joyful. And we also, for Read with Jenna, have a team of readers. For the production company, we have at least 4 readers. For the imprint, there's at least 3 of us. And then, you know, editors too. So it's not like it's only me doing the reading. I hired really great people who are really organized and have spreadsheets of what we're reading. And we're trying to be really conscientious of passing quickly and, you know, going forward with something we love quickly and all of the things.
Passing quickly is a very gracious thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
So the part that's so interesting to me is the editing part. How did you know you had it in you to edit?
I mean, because every book we had ever read that was a no for Read with Jenna, I'm like, if only this part rang more true. But also, I'm a writer, so I've edited my own books over years, you know. But I think voracious readers have a little bit of editing in them. I also, if have read everything, you're like, this doesn't feel so emotional, or this doesn't feel so true, or, you know, the way you've described this person feels one-dimensional. I mean, there's a million ways now that I've had conversations with maybe 6 different editors over 8 of the projects. 99.9% of our conversations around edits we've agreed on. Both things I bring to them where I'm like, this ending didn't really do it for me, or whatever it was. So what happens is I'll read a book. They'll read it simultaneously. If I love it, I'll call and say, I love this book. Like, should we make an offer? And before we even do that, we have an editorial conversation so that I make sure our thoughts are aligned. And so far, they've never not been aligned. And I'm working with multiple people. And then the editor will sort of take it from there, and then I'll do one final read. And I just, for example, we're publishing a book called June Baby in June of next year.
Which is good.
And it's an amazing, beautiful book. It was written by a woman named Shannon, an author who was cleaning houses in Block Island while she wrote this like beautiful kind of coming of age love story, mother-daughter story on the island of Block Island. And so I just read it again, and I sent my editor like the final notes. So it's teamwork, but so far it's been seamless.
Well, it must be an amazing feeling for you to transform someone's life's work.
Yeah.
And to have it be on a big stage and have it be recognized.
I think it's such a fun and such a privilege just be able to have a platform you can share. So like, I don't take that for granted. Like all of the authors I've worked with over the last 6 years, we're like a little family. We get together, we see each other. We just did a book festival where many authors came to Nashville and readers. You know, there's like a real tangible, amazing feeling of it. And that I just like don't take 1 second of it for granted.
I ask all my guests, how do you do it? What makes your life work, right? Both personally, you have 3 children, and professionally.
I think part of like the advice I give everybody is marry somebody that's wanting to be a partner, you know, because if I had a husband who was like, you're gone 4 mornings a week and I'm putting the kids on the bus or whatever it was, then it would be impossible to do it because I'm a sensitive person and that would, you know, break me in many ways and sort of push me away from the ambition that I obviously have. So I think finding somebody that's really supportive and believes in your dreams like almost as much as you do, which I don't think is that easy, but I think there's a lot of good people out there. You know, there was this fairy tale of somebody coming in to rescue you. And when I was like playing Barbies in the 80s and 90s, it was like, oh, who's going to choose me? That sort of feeling. And like, where are the choosers? You know, women should be thoughtful about who they spend their life with because it really can predict the trajectory of their careers. And so I think I just feel so lucky because I got married so young. I've been with Henry for a really long time that I picked somebody that chose me, you know, and I chose them.
And you chose him.
Yeah, but like understands what choosing me also looks like, you know, that it's like all the complications that come with being my husband and taking on the duties that some people would think belong to one, you know, the wife, for example, like that doesn't scare him at all. And also he knows how much I want to be with our kids. And so as long as I also have, you know, morning television is a great career for raising children because I'm home in the afternoons. Yeah.
Right. So what's the division of labor?
He takes the mornings and a lot of times I take the evenings. And I mean, we, by the way, like did it during COVID with 3 children. I had a 6-month-old baby and we didn't have childcare at all. Like we have childcare now, you know, and so everybody gets a little bit of a help. Obviously we need it. You know, I commute. So there's evenings where he'll stay late at work and I totally get it. There's, you know, mornings where, especially in the summer, he's not getting to work until a little later. Also, I'm obsessed with reading. So it's like, I want to read to my son every night. You know, I want to lay in bed with my daughter and do our like joint book club. I want to take on all the things that I'm really into, you know, and he does all the insurance stuff I'm not interested in at all. And that's sort of the unseen labor. So there's times where it's like, I'm picking up my child's room for the 40th time. And you want to sort of say like, what have you done today? But the truth is, I could never say that because it's like he started my day by a lot, but then he does all the unseen stuff too.
So, all right, do you have one thing at home you just absolutely hate to do?
I love to clean. I clean when I'm nervous. Like everybody knows that about me. But I'm also kind of a messy, like I spill on myself a lot. I'm clumsy, I guess you would say. And I don't even care. So I'm not a perfectionist in that way. But I love like organizing and cleaning on days when like big moments in my life were, you know, like the day my dad and mom flew home to Texas from DC, I like went to the inauguration and then I drove back to Baltimore, which is where I was living. And I was just kind of sad that life was over. But also I was like, my parents are going to be living in Texas and I moved up to the East Coast. Like, what am I doing? You know, I felt uncertain. Most people in uncertainty, like, maybe go like comfort eat or have a glass of wine. I'm like, I'm going to clean out my closet.
It gives you order. It gives you
I'm going to clean out my closet. So cleaning, I love. I don't mind it, even though I'm tired. I like cooking okay. I'm not great at it. And I think once I was like, oh, I don't need to be great at it, I sort of have like it even more. So there's nothing I really hate. I don't feel like I need to go to like cocktail night for the 3rd grade parents. And it's not that I dislike it, but I wake up at 4:40 in the morning.
You got to protect your time.
Yeah. My rule is like if my kids are there and see me there, I'm there. You know, like at the school plays, all of that stuff. But like the things where it's extra and it actually isn't really about my kids, I don't feel like I need to go to.
Okay. That's a good answer. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the lightning round. Time for the lightning round. We have some fun questions for you. A few would you rather type questions. All we ask, just first answer pops into your head. Don't think about it. Okay. Long hair or bob?
Bob.
It's working. Okay. New York City or Austin, Texas?
Austin, Texas.
Okay. Arrive at the airport 2 hours early or just make it?
Just make it, but hopefully not today.
Right. Okay. First on the dance floor or last one off?
You would think not last off, but I like a good party. Luckily, I also like sleep.
Okay. A time that you felt most powerful?
Having my babies.
Ah, good answer. Okay. Duet with Dolly Parton or a duet with Beyonce?
Dolly Parton, even though I love Beyonce.
Okay, the last piece of advice you learned at today's show, either from a guest or someone who works there, anyone.
The last piece of advice I've learned, I think, is that it's important to really say goodbye. And I learned it through saying goodbye to Hoda. Like, if we can in life, try to tell people how much you love them before they go.
Okay. Best place to read a book?
My bed.
Okay.
With a cat.
Bed with a cat. You've called your husband, Henry, frugal. He prefers thrifty. What's his best money-saving strategy?
I mean, never to spend anything.
Okay, so it's a very broad strategy.
It's made me frugal. I'll just tell you something. If you've been with somebody for 20 years, all of a sudden you're frugal. And I guess it's good. And now our kids they're like, Mom, you can't buy Georgie ice cream. My niece. And I'm like, yes, I can. Don't worry. Now it's warped into my children too.
All right. What's one of his money-saving strategies that you could live without?
He likes to save money and save energy. So sometimes we'll come home and it will be like 79 degrees. And he's like, but nobody was here. And I'm like, yeah, but do you know how much energy it takes to get it from 79 to 72? I don't know this. This might just be me hoping, but somebody told me this at work, that if he just kept it on 72 degrees all the time, as opposed to jacking, and listen, if you're gone for 2 weeks, but every day taking it up to 78 and then turning it down, and the electricity, the energy that it has to get to go 6 degrees down, I think is a lot. Now, I'm not 100% sure. Do you disagree with that?
I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Don't take it for, this is somebody on our crew told me, Henry needs to understand that if he just kept it, or pretend he just kept it at 74.
And then all you have to do is
meet
get
in the
it
middle,
yes.
and then you go too. I think it's the going all the way up to nearly 80 degrees where people are like, what is happening here? And I'm not just talking about if you're gone for 2 weeks. I'm talking about in one day, if everybody leaves the house, he likes to play with the thermometer. He's been better about it, so maybe he turned over a new leaf.
Okay. A girl can dream.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. What's the last show you binged?
We're binging The Pit right now.
Oh, it's
really good.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay. Happy hour appetizer that you never pass up.
Queso.
Of any kind.
Only queso. Muy queso and guacamole too, but queso.
Okay.
I mean, you don't eat much of it in New York City, but if I could, I would.
Okay. All right. The last one. This one's 2 parts. Okay, it's what's the best investment you ever made and what's the worst? And I have a really broad definition of investment. It could be a class you took or time you spent doing anything.
I think the best investment was time, particularly with my grandparents. And they were the ones that were like, you should take the interview at the Today Show. I was a teacher, so I spent a lot of time with them in the summers by myself sometimes. Like I'd go up for a week at a time because I had the summers off. And I would say that was really invaluable. And they lived until I was in my mid-30s. And that was amazing to have that time with them and really also get to ask them things that felt, profound. And I had moments like that, even in the last years of their life, that really changed me as who I am as a mom and as a human and changed the trajectory of my life, really.
Okay, so the investment of time.
Yes.
That's an excellent one.
Yes.
Okay, what is the worst investment you've ever made?
I'm like, what is the worst investment that I've ever made? I mean, why is that hard for me to think about?
Maybe it's a waste of time.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, I don't watch reality TV anymore. It's so weird. I used to love reality TV.
Really?
And I'm not judgmental of people that like it. I just got pregnant with my eldest daughter, who's now, 12. And when she was in my stomach, I just was like, I don't want her to think this is how I talk to my girlfriends. You know, like I'd watch a Real Housewife and I'm like, but that's not how I talk to my friends. Like we don't yell at each other all the time. We love each other, you know. But I would say more than that is mindless scrolling. I have been known to take off social media apps off my phone when I just feel like, gosh, I'm reading the same article over and over again, or I'm swiping to look at the same pictures. I like catch myself if I think it's addictive, because it is.
It is.
It's addictive.
It's interesting because as I was preparing for this, I was looking up a lot of different things and I got your book. My feed is now all Jenna.
Know.
It's all Jenna.
Isn't it weird how you'll be talking with somebody?
Yes.
I was just speaking to somebody about an idea. They were like, this would be a good sponsor for something. And then it was in my Instagram feed. And I was like,
wait a minute.
Wow, it is. I'm sorry that I ruined your algorithm, but it will change back. Once you research your next guest, then it will be all them.
It is crazy.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you
all right,
so much.
well, you got to go. So thank you.
Thank you.
You can check out Jenna and Friends weekdays on NBC and find out more about Thousand Voices at thousandvoices.com. Conform is available now for pre-sale wherever you buy your books. Plus, you can find out the latest on Jenna's Book Club on Instagram. That account is at Read with Jenna. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our conversation on how she does it. Wishing you all a week that includes some laughter and a good book. We'll have another great conversation for you soon. Until then, onward.